whether it's someone helping to understand a guest and understand and help them build, for example, a digital itinerary for that guest or a recommendation or concierge agent. In the background is also boring things like, confirming and making concierge requests or dining reservations on behalf of guests, automating a lot of things such as housekeeping actions. AI can take a lot of those things and automate many of those common tasks.
Welcome back, everybody. Back to the podcast. Today we have a special guest, Kash. Kash, where are you calling in from today?
So, hi, Art. I'm Kash. Yeah, I'm calling in from Wimbledon in London, in England. So, yeah, lovely to see you.
Amazing. Before we dive in, what's been keeping you most busy at Alliance lately?
Well, it's never a dull moment. So we've been really busy working with a number of customers who use our guest experience platform. A lot of our focus right now is building some of the AI solutions around our service, and so we've been working on deploying that service to across, and how do we roll that out into multiple locations and multiple properties really, really quickly and efficiently and at scale. So that's what we're working on, is really how to drive the most kind of effectiveness and efficiency at scale for our guests and for our customers.
Sounds great. Can you tell us more about your exact position and how long you've been doing it?
Sure. Yeah, I'm the SVP for data and AI at Company Alliance. I've been here for 3 years, just under 3 years. I started out, my background, if you really want to go back, is originally in operational research. People maybe don't understand that. It's basically the science of making better decisions in complex situations. So it's about taking messy real world problems and then using them and turning them into maths problems so that you can find the best possible decision, not just taking a guess. So you can see how that's kind of led to where we are with AI and AI techniques like reinforcement learning. They're basically operations research, but with learning built in. Sort of my journey, I started off working with a lot of companies in travel and hospitality on some of their key challenges. Things like, how do you price complex products such as beach holidays? How do you model demand and elasticity so you're offering the right products at the right price to the right guest? How do we optimize merchandising? So, when customers have a huge range of millions and thousands of hotels to choose from, which ones would you present at the top of your search results or your sort order? That's all then about, recommendation algorithms and matching those products against guest personas and guest profiles. So that led me into, really into the machine learning space. I developed a machine learning startup with one of the co-founders of my current business. And that was really around automating web-based optimization or A/B testing. So we built some really cool advanced algorithms that dynamically served the highest performing actions for customers, and we rolled that out to a number of clients, and that sort of really got us interested in how could we take that concept and advance that to kind of automate as well as use machine learning, which was one of the key branches of AI, into the travel and hospitality space. Following that, I went into industry for a few years. So I worked as both as a commercial director and trading director for an online travel agency, and there I was applying a lot of the things that I was preaching. So actually building their trading and demand analytics, building their pricing and merchandising optimization, and then using that against customer value models to try and optimize really what we were selling, and ultimately to drive, the bottom line in terms of profitability. I then left there to join Alliance, which is where I am today. And Alliance is really, we run a guest experience platform for a range of mainly luxury hospitality businesses, hotels, and our goal is to kind of help those customers to understand every guest and empower their staff to maximize the value of their interactions. So we offer a platform that combines things like messaging, concierge, trip planning, and contactless digital experiences. And what I'm doing now is weaving AI into that product and into those solutions that we offer back to our customers.
Thanks for sharing. That was pretty informative. What does a high impact day look like for you right now?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
A high impact day. What does a high impact day look like for you right now?
A high impact day would be, I guess, ultimately when we're working towards enhancing our product, if we can get a release, an improvement into our product and get that out into the hands of our customers, that gives us great satisfaction. So we can see then how that product is being adopted and benefiting those staff. That's when we get a real buzz and seeing, the usage and adoption and the value that's coming through. So we love seeing that. I also love days where we were able to spin up a new proof of concept or a new idea and see, oh, that's pretty cool. We can see how we could apply that next for one of the, the problems that we have for our guests and clients.
Awesome. Let's see. Let's just switch gears here a little bit. What major shifts are you seeing in your industry right now?
So obviously right now we're seeing a lot around agentic AI and, thoughts around how to connect different agents to work autonomously together. So we're seeing a lot of activity there. Seeing a lot of efforts to try and automate kind of the boring tasks that happen around every part of the customer journey or the back office system. So we're seeing a lot of effort going into those, and also to how to really empower staff as well to use AI and educate them on the benefits of where AI can fit in. But the challenge is making kind of real kind of improvements rather than AI for AI's sake. So that's kind of we need to really focus on those things that really have a real positive delivery, rather than that looks pretty or that looks cool. It's actually where we can actually make a difference to efficiency or profitability or something else that really impacts the business.
Right? What's working particularly well for you right now?
So one of the key services that we've built is Alan is basically a assistant or purpose-built sidekick for the hospitality industry, and that's doing really, really well. So we've integrated that into our experience platform, and it's an agentic system which really understands the context of the guest and helps to basically automate or semi-automate a lot of the responses and questions that guests have. So it works in a number of different ways, and it acts as a kind of multiplier to assist staff in their interactions with guests. So it helps them to draft, contextually aware responses that employees can then edit and send, and handles a lot of those routine inquiries, but with very strong built-in guardrails to ensure it never kind of oversteps its bounds. So we're using that and, connect that system to live property and guest data and also third-party services to really enable guests and staff to drive a lot of efficiency and improved responses back to guests in terms of how they communicate, and then, for example, how they then buy additional services or supports their stay, helps them to automate some of the boring tasks that they need to do, and takes away a lot of things off their plate. So we're seeing a lot of support that's giving for staff in a lot of properties right now.
Okay. On the flip side, what has been more frustrating or harder to scale than expected?
What's harder to scale than expected? I think what we see is the complexity and fragmentation of a lot of hospitality systems. So we're often having to try and pull together that that cohesive view from very, very different disparate data sources. So, good AI has got to be built on really solid data foundations, and the challenge that many, and particularly in the hospitality spaces where we operate, is they haven't got good data, and therefore, building solid, information from that is a challenge. So we're having to build systems on top of their data to clean, to normalize, to make sure it's giving us the right answers before we use AI on top of that to kind of respond back to guests, make sure it's right and it's not giving the wrong information. So the challenge is always that plumbing in terms of the data layer, and getting that right.
Where do you feel your teams lose the most time or momentum today?
Where do teams? I think where we're if we look at the kind of the development cycle, I think where we are losing most time is probably in understanding, you know, where the system is performing well and where it isn't. So, we spend a lot of time looking at the responses that we're getting back and trying to match that up and understanding, is that doing a good job or a bad job? So actually learning how the platform is performing is where we spend a lot of time. I wouldn't say that's, wasted time. That's very, very important time, but it's quite, I guess, intensive to understand that, because it requires a fair amount of manual effort and data extraction and actually data science work to really fully pull that.
Is that a personal issue, a process issue, or a tooling issue?
I think we're trying to build tooling on top of that. It's also just the usual people and resources and time. The volume of data grows, and the kind of, we want to try and do that for multiple different systems at the same time. So it's a question of, how do we do that at scale across all of those different platforms, and which ones do we prioritize first, or which opportunities do we try and tackle first? That's always the biggest decision and challenge, is it the person who's shouting loudest, or is it where we think the biggest value improvement can be had? It's all around, how do we prioritize the next best thing, next action that we try and build into the platform.
Makes sense. How visible are these issues and efficiencies at the executive level?
I think it varies. I do think, I think generally there's a very wide acceptance of how much time, effort, and cost some of these processes that we're trying to tackle are taking. It's not just that, it's also, the amount of staff training that needs to be done or maintaining, because there's quite often in some of these roles a reasonable amount of staff churn and attrition. So, this is a very high impact issue facing many of our customers and guests. So it is quite high on the corporate agenda to try and resolve those issues.
Where do you feel there's a biggest gap between effort and results?
Where do I feel the biggest gap between effort and results? So I think it's mainly in terms of staff adoption as well. So we have still a piece to do to educate both customers and clients around how to use tools. The tools themselves are very simple to use, but when and how to integrate them. So, there's often concerns around, AI hallucination or AI safety, driving and getting, customers to understand how those problems can be mitigated is often one of the biggest challenges. People are often still nervous around using AI solutions, because of some of the historic issues, and there's still live issues around, how AI can get things wrong. And if you don't have the right safeguards and guardrails in place, things can go wrong. It's also then helping to explain how AI works to people, is different to, particularly when people are used to more kind of rule-based systems and how those work, and they're not able to replicate quite the same rules. They're like, if this then do that, then that's not how AI works. I'm sorry, it's a very different concept. So kind of explaining that to people who are not so familiar is often quite a challenge.
Okay. What initiatives have taken longer than you'd expect to show the ROI?
So I think we got, areas where you can do things like building, for example, an end-to-end recommendation and concierge system. It sounds theoretically quite straightforward, but the reality of building, a complex recommendation agent which has all of the right knowledge, but and then also has the right tools and capabilities to go off and actually execute is actually quite significant, because it comes back to, the plumbing that ultimately needs to happen back into different systems to enable it to talk to the right other systems and get the right information. So, there's the challenges in going from ideas to actually actions and getting agents to be able to perform those actions, more autonomously. That's moving. It is moving in the right direction, but it's moving more slowly than I'd like in some areas.
That makes sense. Okay. So, what would be your top 2 to 3 business priorities in the next 3 to 6 months?
So I think we're looking to say, what we're looking to grow the number of, really actionable agents and how those agents can be deployed across our platform. So, right now we're building things such as, staff co-pilots that will help staff use AI much more efficiently in their day-to-day lives. And then building more in terms of these autonomous agents that can work in conjunction with other agents. So that kind of nirvana of that agentic workflow, that agents are talking to agents, and then but still keeping humans in the loop to manage escalations, to set direction, to set strategy. That's kind of where we're going. I think the technology evolving so quickly. But it's around getting customers to understand where and how and where they're comfortable to actually deploy those systems in production environments. It's going to take a little bit of time to get them to that place.
So what kind of, I guess, services or agents do you have? I mean, I'm assuming one is a customer, I guess, staff related agent that trains the staff or helps the staff. One might be like a chatbot on a website facing the customers. One may be outbound call agent or inbound call agent. What kind of agents do you currently deploy?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a range. So obviously it's, for example, that chat assistant, but it's also a variety of back office kind of assistants. So whether it's someone helping to understand a guest and understand and help them build, for example, a digital itinerary for that guest or a recommendation or concierge agent. In the background is also boring things like, confirming and making concierge requests or dining reservations on behalf of guests, automating a lot of things such as housekeeping actions. AI can take a lot of those things and automate many of those common tasks. We're also seeing a lot more demand for insight-based agents. So, tell me what are the key issues happening? What are you seeing in the data? So being able to talk to my data, understand and surface key insights from my data. We're getting much more into the predictive, what's going to happen rather than what's happened type of environment. So moving away from just telling me things that have happened or are happening or tell me what I should be planning for, tell me what things are coming up that I need to, to look at, and also suggesting what are the next best actions I should be doing as a result of that. So taking much more of that, proactive stage, that's where agents will be coming much more to the fore.
So I think most of these deal with, well, not most of it. I mean, most of it is basically internal data and existing customers. Some of them might be new customers wherein, they're booking in services. Do you have any agents which do outreach or marketing or video processing or communications with the new customers?
At the moment, we haven't gone into that sphere. We are, enabling parts of the platform enable outbound messaging, whether that's sending them a reminder notification or sending them a pre-arrival notification or a check-in invitation, for example. So we're looking at ways to, use AI to enhance those. So maybe personalize some of those communications or decide what's the most appropriate message to send to the guest at the right moment in their customer journey, and then get involved with the actual content of those messages. Firstly, it's deciding what are the right, we call them audiences. Who should I be talking to? What should I be talking to them about? That's where AI can start. I think that's talking to that data lens and going, well, let's identify this group of guests or customers that we should be engaging with and what should be the right next message for them. We would then probably pass that through to the hotel system to say, okay, this is who you should be informing and here's what you should be talking to them about.
Yeah. So for example, somebody might be booking the same hotel for years on a Valentine's Day or their birthday. Then you might offer like spa services from the resort for those birthdays and those anniversaries,
So
just using
we
personal
things
data.
like we know it's they're coming back and we know that it's their birthday because we can look at their profile and we can understand it's their birthday. So we might suggest a whole range of potential activities that the guests, that the staff may do to really personalize and make that a special stay. So, making sure that they've got the room made up in the right way, or have some balloons or a cake on arrival, or do something special for that guest. How can we differentiate? And AI is really good at then being able to spot those patterns, and suggest, okay, I'm looking and I've read the detailed history of this guest, and I can see kind of the context of what this upcoming stay is about. So here's some things you could do, and actually I'm going to actually go and make some of these actions happen automatically, or at least suggest them so that someone could approve them and decide that's a good idea or not. So I think that's where we're going to move from, I say that, from reactive mode to proactively understanding the guest, and anticipating their needs.
Yeah, like two different solutions that I've seen being deployed before. One is quite simple. So whenever the customer sends an email, the AI reads the email, reads the name of the customer, their website, their business, looks them up on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, opens their website, researches their website, does like an in-depth research about the customer, and then compose an email which is relevant to either the service offering that you have. In your case, it's really hospitality, maybe even spa services, and then basically it replies within, I would say, within a minute, maybe even less, with a very customized message to that specific customer, answering and even suggesting things that might be relevant to them. That's quite an easy thing to deploy. Another thing which I've seen being deployed, and I think it's more major to deploy. So one of the clients that I've seen being helped, this lawyer person, he had millions of followers on Instagram, on YouTube. So anytime you make a post, he will have thousands of messages and comments and emails. It'll be physically impossible for him to reply to every single comment and answer those questions because they have questions. So they trained a bot that knows all the past case history and FAQ, and the bot will be plugged into all the social media accounts, and it would start a conversation on every single comment thread, on every single email, message, DM, and the conversation will keep on going until the customer either drops off or is ready to speak to the lawyer. And when that's ready, the AI sends the contact information to the lawyer for him to actually call the client. He said that he deployed, I mean, he closed more customers in 3 weeks than he closed in 3 years. Because you have like an army of people answering questions for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if you can, yeah, that's a great example of leveraging an agent to sort through all of those comments, keep those conversations going, and then bring them to the right endpoint so that you can actually start just focusing on the really qualified end goals. Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the relating that to our kind of particularly the hotel industry is we have to blend in AI with the human factor. So, the hotels staff, concierges have such a unique knowledge that, no AI is going to replace, anytime, but the AI can assist them by, building that knowledge, enabling them to get that information really quickly. So, for example, providing them with tools to say, look, actually, the boring bit is them going and finding and checking availability of a restaurant. They know which hotels, they know which restaurants they want to go and send the guest to, but actually, that restaurant has a 30-day booking policy, or they have to then go and phone and confirm that restaurant 7 days before. These are all the boring tasks that the concierges might need to go and do. So an AI can help them in a lot of those tasks, and leave the concierges to handle the really special pieces, and the knowledge that they bring for that guest. So it's around bringing that, keeping the human factor in, but also enabling them to be much more effective.
Yeah, I'm assuming you have chatbots which allow you to book restaurants for specific people, getting their contact information, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then also outbound calling and going, look, can I just check that my reservation is still confirmed, or you might, or my limo provider, and checking that limo service is still coming on time. We already do things like checking the weather, what's going on, and then being able to answer whether the activity that you've got planned is going to be impacted or potentially impacted by the weather at the property on a specific day, as well as plugging in. One of the other opportunities we're seeing, obviously, is the proliferation of third-party services that we can then plug in and support. So whether that's maps information or what's going on nearby, we can bring that information much more readily and easily back to guest center staff so that they don't have to go off and switch between 100 different screens and go and try and piece together that information. They just ask the right questions and let the AI do the hard work and pulling that information together.
So, how are you currently approaching the problem of complexity? You mentioned that you have way too many things to, many components of the AI which are not fully integrated. How are you currently approaching it, and what's working well with the current setup?
I think we have to look at things in terms of, the priority is always driven by where we think we have the biggest, we're going to have the biggest impact. And we then choose what makes sense in terms of how ultimately we bring, data in from that service to how we integrate different services. Now, there's obviously new opportunities opening up with things like MCP that open up new new standards. Those standards are still quite immature, particularly in hospitality, and they don't have widespread kind of adoption. So those things will get better over time as we work out how to make agents talk to other agents more effectively, and those protocols get used more extensively. Those we may pick those services as the ones that have the best the best and the biggest impact ultimately on the staff and on the guest services that we're trying to. All right, Art, lovely to meet you. Thank you very much, and well, we'll catch up on Monday.
Sounds good. Enjoy
Take
your
care.
weekends. Bye bye.